Nobody warns you that success can destroy a marriage faster than failure. You supported her through medical school. You paid the bills, cooked, cleaned, and waited through endless lonely nights. You thought you were building a future together. Instead, she crossed the finish line alone. The day she received her license, she packed her things, filed papers, and walked away like you were a mistake she needed to erase. 3 years passed. You learned how to sleep without her, how to live in silence, how to breathe without breaking. Then one afternoon, someone knocked on your door. She stood there in a white coat, holding a baby, and said your name like a ghost. But before I tell you what happened next, remember to subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Nobody warns you that success can destroy a marriage faster than failure. You learned that the hard way. The night she graduated, everyone said you were the perfect couple. You stood in the back of the ceremony with flowers in your hand and pride in your chest. She crossed the stage, smiled, and waved toward the crowd. You thought the smile was for you. Later, you learned it wasn't. Hours after the celebration, she came home, put her medical license on the kitchen table, and told you she wanted a divorce. No warning, no fight, no tears. She said she needed freedom. She said she wanted a new life. You stood there thinking she was overwhelmed or tired. You tried to talk. She stopped you with a single line. We were temporary. You spent months trying to understand how someone you loved could erase you like a stain. Friends told you to move on. Family told you to hate her. You didn't do either. You survived. You worked. You rebuilt piece by painful piece. 3 years passed. No calls, no birthday texts, no updates, nothing. Then came the knock. You opened the door and froze. She stood there on your porch wearing a doctor's coat, hair tied back, face tired. In her arms, a baby. Not a newborn, not small. Maybe 1 year old. Maybe older. The child stared at you with wide eyes and a curl of dark hair across the forehead. You didn't move. Your breath locked in your throat. Hi, she said. You waited for your voice to work. It didn't. She stepped inside without waiting for permission. She set the baby carrier on the couch. Her hands trembled. You didn't miss it. You look different, she said. You stayed silent. Her eyes scanned the room. Same furniture she left behind. Same walls, same framed photos of a life she walked away from. The only thing missing was her presence, and you made sure there was nothing left of her here. What do you want? You asked. She swallowed hard. I need help. The words hung between you like broken glass. You pointed to the baby. Is he mine? She shook her head fast. No, he isn't. You felt something strange in your chest. Relief mixed with something else you didn't want to name. You looked at the baby again, calm eyes, small hands. Innocent. So why are you here? You asked. She pulled off her coat. Beneath it, she looked smaller than you remembered. Thinner. More fragile. I have been working non-stop, she said. Hospital shifts. Emergency calls. Night rotations. My life became a blur. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. And somewhere along the way, I lost myself. You crossed your arms. That is not my problem, she flinched. I know. You walked past her and picked up a glass of water. Your hands shook, but you kept your voice steady. You left me. You humiliated me. You filed papers on the day you reached your dream. You never explained why. You disappeared. And now, after 3 years, you show up with a baby and ask for help? She lowered her head. I deserve your anger. You deserve worse. The baby made a soft sound, grabbing her finger. She exhaled and touched his cheek. He belongs to a friend, she said. She was in a car crash 2 weeks ago. She isn't waking up. I promised her I would take care of him until she heals. But the hospital is killing me. I am alone. I had no one left to call. You felt a cold sting inside your chest. So I am your last option. Yes. You hated how fast her answer came. No excuse, no twist, no apology disguised as kindness. She looked around the apartment again, Her eyes paused on the framed wedding photo still sitting near the bookshelf. You kept it because throwing it away felt like cutting off a part of yourself. Why did you leave? You asked. She blinked fast. You never asked. You never gave me a chance. She sat on the couch, shoulders slumped. When I started medical school, I thought love would be my anchor. You worked long hours, carried the bills, cheered me through every test. I thought I would make you proud. But the closer I got to the finish line, the more I felt like I was failing you. You stared at her. No words, no sympathy. I saw you shrinking, she said. Losing weight, sleeping alone, eating alone, waiting for me every night. I kept promising things would get better. Then I started lying. I said I was studying, but I was sleeping in empty classrooms because going home with nothing to give felt like shame. You sat on the chair across from her. The room felt too small. So you left. I thought I was doing you a favor, she said. You sacrificed your life for me. I did not want to return home as a tired shell of a wife who had nothing left. That was my choice to make, she nodded. I know that now, the baby fussed. She lifted him and held him close. He calmed fast. You watched her sway gently. The way you always expected her to hold your child someday. Something in your chest tightened again. Why today? You asked. Why show up now? She looked at you with eyes full of exhaustion. Because I am breaking. I am losing control. I do not trust myself to take care of him alone. I thought I was strong. I am not. You let out a slow breath. I am not your husband anymore. I know. I am not your family. I know. You walked away. I know, she whispered. A long, painful silence filled the room. You stood and walked toward the door. She tensed like you were about to throw her out into the street, but instead, you locked the door. You can stay until we figure something out, you said. Do not read more into it. She sank back into the couch, relief crossing her face. Thank you, her voice broke. You grabbed a blanket from the closet and tossed it near her feet. The baby sleeps in the bedroom. You stay out here, she nodded. Understood. You lifted the carrier and walked down the hall. The baby stared at you, curious, trusting you without knowing who you were. You placed him gently on the bed and sat beside him. Small breaths, small hands. When you walked back to the living room, she was staring at the old photo of your wedding day. We will talk tomorrow, you said. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. If tomorrow comes, your jaw tightened. Sleep. You turned off the lights, but you didn't leave the room. You watched her wrap herself in the blanket, eyes wide open in the dark. Anger lived inside you. But something else lived there too. You hated it. You sat in the chair and waited for morning. We will talk tomorrow, you said. But tomorrow arrived faster than sleep. The night passed in slow minutes. Each time you closed your eyes, the past rushed in. Her laughter, her tears, her graduation, her goodbye. You heard the baby cry once, a soft whimper, then silence again. She must have soothed him. You didn't move from the chair. You watched the ceiling, fighting the mix of anger and something you didn't want to name. When morning light pushed through the curtains, her eyes were still open. She hadn't slept. She sat up when she heard you stand. Did you rest? She asked. No, she nodded. Me neither. You walked to the kitchen, made coffee, poured it into 2 mugs, then stopped. You almost made her cup the way she used to like it. You shook the thought away and set it on the table plain. She walked over slowly and took a seat. She lifted the mug but didn't drink. Thank you, she said. You leaned against the counter. We need to talk about yesterday. She held the cup with both hands. I know, you kept your voice steady. You came here because you needed help. But I need answers. She stared into the coffee. Ask. Why did you shut me out the moment you became a doctor? Her voice was small. That day, something changed inside me. Everyone told me I made it. Everyone praised me. But instead of feeling proud, I felt worthless. They said I was strong. I felt weak. They said I saved lives. I felt empty. You frowned, so you threw your marriage away. I thought I was the problem. I saw how much you gave. I saw you wait every night, and I saw myself turning into someone bitter and cold. I did not want to destroy you with me. You stepped closer. You didn't destroy me by staying. You destroyed me by leaving. Her eyes filled with tears, but she did not cry. She pressed her lips together to hold it in. I panicked, she whispered. I thought walking away was the only choice. You could have talked to me. I was scared you would say you were proud of me, even while I hurt you. I didn't deserve that. You opened your mouth to reply, but the baby cried from the bedroom. She stood fast and ran down the hall. You stayed in the kitchen, staring at the wall, trying to slow your breathing. When she returned, the child rested in her arms. He pressed his head against her shoulder, half asleep. She kissed his forehead, gentle, soft. He likes mornings, she said. You looked at the baby. What is his name? Evan, you nodded. And his mother is still unconscious? She had head trauma, swelling. Doctors say she might wake up tomorrow. Or next week. Or never. Her voice trembled on the last word. You watched her bounce the child lightly, soothing him with slow movements. You never expected to see her holding a baby in your home. Not like this. She sat on the couch again. The baby looked at you with big, curious eyes. You stared back, feeling something shift inside. Why didn't you ask anyone else? You asked. Family, friends, anyone. I burned every bridge, she said. Everyone I loved, I pushed away, including you. You said nothing. Her shoulders dropped. I do not blame you if you want me gone after she wakes up. You met her eyes. Who takes care of you? She blinked. Myself. That is not working. The silence that followed was heavy and cold. She knew you were right. Hours passed. She fed the baby, changed diapers, cleaned up. You watched. Part of you hated how natural she looked as a caretaker. Part of you hated how it hurt. During lunch, she sat across from you, quiet, nervous, her hands shook when she lifted the spoon. You asked why I left? Right after becoming a doctor, she said. You looked up. I started hearing voices in my head, she said. Not real voices, thoughts, doubts. Every time I walked into the hospital, I heard people praising me, but all I felt was failure. I became someone who did not believe in herself. You frowned. And our marriage? I did not think I was worthy of you anymore. You sacrificed years for me. I had nothing to offer back. You didn't have to offer anything, you said. You were my wife, her breath caught. You still talk like you are. You stared down at your plate. Old habits. The baby dropped his spoon. She picked it up, whispering soft words to calm him. When he smiled, her whole face softened. You remembered that smile. You hated that you missed it. In the afternoon, the baby napped. She sat near him, afraid to leave his side. You cleaned the kitchen, trying not to watch her, but your eyes kept drifting. At one point, she whispered, I miss us. You tightened your jaw. There is no us, she nodded. I know. She stood up slowly and walked to the window. Sunlight touched her hair. She looked older, but also more fragile. Her voice shook. I did not cheat. I did not fall out of love. I did not replace you. I got sick inside my own mind. And instead of asking for help, I ran. You stared at her back. You could have asked me to support you. She turned, eyes red. You were already carrying everything. The bills, the house, the food, my dreams. I did not want you to carry my broken mind, too. You didn't speak. She walked closer. I hurt you, I know. You want me gone. Say it, and I will leave. You stepped forward until you were standing inches apart. She trembled. I am not throwing you out, you said. But this house is not your home. She nodded slowly. Then I stay as a guest. You didn't answer. Night came. You cooked dinner. She helped chop vegetables. Every movement was awkward, every breath heavy. The baby laughed once, a loud, sudden giggle that filled the room. You paused. She stared. Something about that sound loosened the tension for one small second. After dinner, she tried to put the baby to sleep in the bedroom. He cried. He kicked. He screamed. She panicked. You took him from her arms and walked slow circles. The baby calmed against your chest. His small hand clutched your shirt, and you felt his breath slow. She stared, stunned. "I forgot how gentle you are," she whispered. You shot her a glare. "Do not start," she lowered her gaze. "You are right." You put the baby in the crib and walked out. She followed. When you sat on the couch, she stayed standing, unsure where she belonged. "You can sit," you said. She sat on the far end, hugging her knees. You turned on a small lamp. The room glowed warm. She finally spoke. "I want to fix myself. I want to fix my life. But I do not know where to start." You leaned back. "One day at a time." "Do you hate me?" she asked. "Sometimes," she nodded, accepting it. "Do you miss me?" You looked at her, tired, scared, holding on by a thread. "Yes," you said. "I do." Her breath shook. Tears filled her eyes, but she did not break. "Not this time." "You can sleep in the guest room tonight," you said. "I thought the couch." "The couch hurts your neck." She gave a small, broken laugh. "You remember everything." You didn't smile. "Good night." She walked to the guest room. You stayed in the living room, staring at the ceiling again. Thoughts screamed inside your head. You did not fight them. When the house finally went quiet, you stood and walked to the guest room door. It was open a crack. You saw her sitting on the edge of the bed, head down, wiping her eyes. You didn't go in. You turned away. You turned away from the door and walked down the hall, but you did not sleep. You stood in the dark, staring at the quiet apartment that once held laughter and arguments and long nights of studying. Now it felt like an echo of a life you never finished living. You sat on the couch and waited for morning. You tried to convince yourself you were only helping because of the baby. You tried to believe she meant nothing anymore. But deep inside, you knew the truth was heavier. When the sun rose, you found her in the kitchen trying to make breakfast. The baby sat in a high chair chewing on a cracker. She dropped a pan, jumped, and cursed under her breath. You watched her from the doorway. "You never took before work," you said. She turned fast. "I wanted to try." "You forgot the stove is gas?" "You need to light it first." She blinked, embarrassed. You stepped in, lit the burner, handed her a spatula. She cooked in silence. You could see she was shaking, not from fear of the pan, but from fear of being near you. After breakfast, she packed a small diaper bag. "My shift starts at noon. I told the hospital I am taking leave, but they still need my final report. I cannot take him with me. Please watch him for an hour." You nodded once, no words. She kissed the baby's head, then walked to the door. She paused with her hand on the handle. "Thank you for letting me stay. I still do not deserve it." "You said that yesterday," you replied. She lowered her head and left. You spent the next hour feeding the baby, wiping his face, carrying him from room to room. He laughed when you bounced him in your arms. He grabbed your nose and smiled like he owned your heart. When she came back, her face was pale. She held a small stack of papers and dropped them on the table. "What is this?" You asked. "My resignation," she said. "I need time away. I need help. Therapy, sleep, food, life." You stared at the papers. "You gave up your job?" "I gave up the hospital," she said. "Not medicine. I want to work again. But first I need to remember who I am." You saw something real in her eyes. Not pride, not ambition. Something softer, something human. She went to check on the baby. You sat there, looking at the resignation forms, wondering if this woman was the same person who once walked out without a goodbye. Later in the day, her phone rang. She stepped into the hallway and answered. You heard only pieces. Yes, doctor? I understand. She woke up. I will be there. She hung up and walked toward you. She opened her eyes, she said. The mother. Relief washed across her face. You nodded. Good. I need to go to the hospital. Today. Now. She reached for the diaper bag. No, you said. Leave him here. See her. Make sure she is safe. She froze. You trust me enough to leave him in your home, but not to take him with me? I trust the child, you said. He deserves calm. Hospitals are loud. She stared at you for a long second. Then she nodded. I will tell her he is safe. You watched her get in a taxi and pull away. You stood at the window with the baby in your arms. His head rested on your shoulder. His breath was steady. You felt something gentle inside you for the first time in years. Hours passed. You fed him, played with him. When he slept, you lay on the floor beside the crib and closed your eyes for the first time in 2 days. When the door opened, you woke. She walked in slow, holding her bag, eyes red. You stood fast, worried she had bad news. She will recover, she whispered. It will be slow, but she will live. You let out a breath you didn't know you held. She wants him back soon, she added. Maybe a few days, you nodded. Good, she walked into the living room. You followed. The baby reached for her. She kissed him and held him close. She asked about you, your ex-wife said. I told her the truth. You are the only person who still helped me after I ruined everything. You felt the words cut. You didn't flinch. Sit, you said. She sat across from you, baby on her lap. She waited for you to speak. When you left, I thought I did something wrong. I replayed every day, every argument, every small moment. I tried to find the second you fell out of love. I never did, she said. I tried to hate you, you continued. But there was always this voice inside me asking why. And now you know, she whispered. Yes. She held the child tighter. Do you want me gone now? You leaned back, staring at her face. She looked tired, broken, scared. But she also looked honest. I want you to stay, you said. Her eyes widened. Why? Because you need help. Because you are trying. Because the woman I married is still in front of me. She shook her head. You should not forgive me. I have not. She swallowed hard. Then what am I to you? You thought for a long time. You are someone I loved. Someone who hurt me. Someone who is trying to fix her life. You are not my wife, but you are not a stranger. Her tears spilled. She put the baby down gently and covered her face. I miss you, she said. Every day. You walked to her and sat beside her. You did not touch her yet. You looked at her, shaking shoulders. You need time, you said. And so do I, she wiped her face. I will take it. Days passed. Not dramatic, not sudden. Slow steps. She cooked dinner. You washed dishes. You slept in your room. She slept in the guest room. She took the baby to visit the mother, then returned with updates. The woman got stronger. Soon she would walk. Soon she would speak. Soon she would take her child home. On the day the mother was ready to see the baby, you all went together. The woman cried when she held him. You watched her face glow with love. You felt warmth, not envy. Your ex-wife stood beside you, tears in her eyes, relieved. When you drove back to the apartment, the baby was gone. The apartment felt different, too quiet. She stood in the living room, unsure what to do with her hands. I am leaving tomorrow, she said. I will rent a small place. I will start therapy. I will rest. And if I am lucky, I will become someone worthy again. You stepped closer. You do not need to leave. She shook her head. I need to prove I can stand on my own. If I stay here, I will always feel like a burden. You were never a burden, you said. You were lost. She looked up at you. Do you think we have a chance? You took her hand. A chance to heal. A chance to talk. A chance to rebuild trust. But slow. No promises, she nodded fast. I will take slow. You pulled her gently into a hug. When she rested her head on your chest, her whole body relaxed. She breathed in and held on. "I never stopped loving you," she said. "I know." She pulled back, eyes shining. "One step at a time?" One step. She slept in the guest room that night. You slept in yours. But the house felt full again, not with pain, but with something new, something small, something fragile. You were not fixing the past. You were building something different. In the morning, you heard her in the kitchen, making coffee. Quiet, careful. She handed you a mug. "Thank you," she said. You took it. For what? For yesterday. For today. For giving me space to be better. You nodded. She picked up her coat. "I found an apartment 2 streets away. Close enough to ask for help. Far enough to learn to stand." You walked her to the door. She looked nervous. "This is not goodbye," you said. Her shoulders relaxed. She smiled. "Then what is it?" "A second beginning." She hugged you again. Short, warm, honest. "I will call tonight," she said. "I will answer." She stepped outside. You watched her walk down the sidewalk, shoulders steady, steps slow. Not the same woman who left 3 years ago. Someone new, someone learning. You closed the door. The apartment was quiet. But this silence did not hurt. This silence felt like peace. Some stories break you before they heal you. Some endings are not endings at all. If you want the next story of betrayal, forgiveness, and second chances, watch tomorrow's episode. And check the link in the description to download a free collection of our most emotional stories. One of them might stay with you forever.